everyone, so today I am out with Ivy and we are going to be looking at working her retrieves when there are multiple marks out. So we recently took part in a working test training workshop which was run by River Lily, which was really good. I definitely recommend it. But it highlighted to me that I have done very little training with Ivy when there has been multiple marks out. We've done some directional work, but she's got, at that case, one side and one the other, and it's quite easy to get it right, I guess. But when you've got a more acute angle and you're lining from your side, what we found was that on one of the tests she lined out beautifully for a blind, picked it, but then decided to try and go and retrieve the other marks that she had seen thrown earlier. So what I want to try and work on today is getting her to follow my line, go out and pick the dummy that I have chosen her to pick, and to come straight back with that one, not go on a detour and try and investigate the other mark that is out. So we will give it a go and see how we get on.
So you will have to excuse that this video is a bit disjointed as the wind kept blowing the camera over, but to start off with I decided to do the exercise with food bowl so that if she got wrong she definitely wasn't getting rewarded for it. So I'm doing a bit of a clock exercise, so imagining I'm in the middle of the clock, and then in this case I had a bowl at 12 o'clock and a bowl at 6 o'clock, and I sent her for the bowl that had the food in. She ran out nicely and picked it, and I was quite confident that would happen. So then we moved on to progressing to a more acute angle. So we're at a right angle here. So imagining the clock analogy again, we've got a bowl at 12 o'clock where I am now, and then another bowl at 3 o'clock. And in this instance, I'm going to line and center for the bowl at 12 o'clock. So I've put food in that bowl, and I'm now just walking to the other bowl to pretend to put food in it as a distraction. What she's got to do is follow my line, ignoring the distraction, run out to that bowl, get the food, and run straight back. So as you can see, she followed my line nicely, got the food from the bowl, and then returned straight back without detouring towards the distraction. So that was really good, really pleased with that. That was marked and I rewarded her on the board. I then walk off to set up exactly the same exercise, the same difficulty level. And then my camera obviously falls over. So I picked that up and I've just sped this section up because it's exactly the same. However, this time I'm sending her to the bowl at 3 o'clock. So again, this repetition was successful, and then I decide to progress it on and start reducing the angle between the bowls. So the camera obviously fell over while I was setting up this exercise, but I've now got it so I've got a bowl at about 11 o'clock on my clock face and another one at about 1 o'clock. So reducing that angle, line and center for the one at 11 o'clock, and again she runs out, eats her food and returns straight back to the board. So this is working perfectly. I've got the fail safe that if it does go wrong and she goes to the wrong bowl, she's not going to be rewarded because there's no food in it. And now I'm just setting up a second repetition of that same exercise at the same difficulty level. It's also worth noting that because this is a relatively new exercise for Ivy, we've not done a lot of it. That's why I've decided to keep the distances a lot shorter, so we're not adding any additional complexity with distance whilst we're learning this new behaviour of doing the retrieving pattern in the presence of distractions. Now, as we got success with the food bowls, I am now upping the ante and introducing the dummies. So while doing this, I'm reducing the difficulty of the exercise to start with. So we've got a dummy being thrown out there at about 9 o'clock, and then another one going out at 3 o'clock the other side. So there's 180 degrees between the two retrieve articles, which means hopefully she will get it right. So line and center. She follows the right line, picks it, and then returns straight to the board, which is really nice because that's something else that we're working on. So there was no whizzing past the legs. And she also didn't look like she was interested in that distraction dummy at all there. So that was really nice. I then throw that dummy back out again, but it was an awful throw. It was supposed to go back to about 9 o'clock, but it's come in a slightly smaller angle there. But I then line and center for the other dummy that I threw at about 3 o'clock. She follows that line, picks it, and again returns to the board. So that was really nice. And then the camera falls over. So I hadn't realised that the camera had fallen over, so continued to do more repetitions, and ultimately what I'm doing is working on reducing the angle between the two dummies and still keeping her retrieving the one that I want and not detouring on her way back towards the distraction dummy. So we're now working with one at about 10 o'clock and one at about 1 o'clock. So you'll notice that I do still reward her for staying steady on the board when I throw the item out now and again, just to remind her that that's good behaviour that I want her to continue to repeat. And I am also sending her for the last dummy that I throw. So the last one to hit the ground is the one that she's going to be more inclined to want to go towards. So that's just helping her get success as we progress this exercise on. Apologies that the filming so stop-start, the camera just kept falling over, but we then repeat this exercise again, same difficulty level, and you'll also notice that on this occasion I start lining her and then reward her for remaining steady. Again, just to help make sure that she's waiting for my verbal cue to be sent and not just running because I get into position of lining her out. Off she goes, picks it and returns it straight to the board, so that was pretty perfect. I then go and pick the other dummy so that she's not retrieving everything that's getting thrown out. Sometimes when she comes back I'll send her for the second one, but most of the time I will go and pick it myself. I then repeat that again. Lining and sending her for the last one thrown, which she picks and returns. And then what I do is I throw that dummy back out and up the ante a little bit by sending her for what is now a memory out towards the 10 o'clock marker. Again, on this occasion, I reward her for staying steady to my body positioning as I'm lining her. I then send her on the verbal cue and she runs out and she is successful. So I was really pleased with that because that was quite challenging compared to what we were doing, lining for a memory, having just seen a mark be thrown. And then again, I go and pick the remaining dummy that's still out there. I then throw the dummies out again for our last repetition, still working on the similar kind of 90-degree angle, but this time I line and send her for the first dummy I threw. She follows the right line, picks it and then returns it straight to the board, so a nice final repetition to end on. So really pleased with that session actually. I think that went well, and it's also nice to see that her delivery is improving because not once then did she whiz past me when bringing the dummy back. She targeted the place board every time, so we'll continue working with that, but that is us done for now.